Hi friends, welcome to the session on logistics and warehouse management. Some of you might be thinking that why I've used the two terms logistics and warehouse management. I mean, if I go with the definition, warehouse management is a part of logistics. But in Indian industry, I still see around when I say logistics, they link with transportation. Warehouse management is independent things around. So I thought, let me give a name which is logistics and warehouse management. But technically, you're very right. If I go with the definition, logistics cover everything. The focus of today is basically optimizing the logistic chain and warehouse intelligently. That's what we're going to do. When I use the word essential, basically what I'm going to cover the fundamentals, which are very important for this functioning of both the functions. Now, when we say logistics per se, all of you know is the key contributor. If we say the goods have to reach at right time, right price, right location, so logistics key take care of all. So in some people, if I ask logistics, they say it is nothing but it's a movement of goods. Some may say it's just only basically flow, but I would say it's a flow and storage. But it's not simple flow and storage. It's a process of planning. You have to plan. And then you have to do the implementation part, controlling part, to ensure that this is cost effective. When we say logistics, normally we link with goods. Now, the definition of goods also has changed over the last few years. I remember 5 years back when we used to say goods, the difference between goods and services. Goods means which are tangible, transportable. Services were intangible. That means which are service. But these are the very old definition given by economists. But the new definition which has come up is the services also has got two parts around. So there are goods, if I say the goods are tangible and intangible goods, and services. Now let me again clarify on this part. So if it's not very clear, the goods part. So when I say goods, so goods means one which you're all used to it, physical, but then there are intangible goods. Let's say I'm an IT company. I'm developing software. I'm a musical company developing music around. So those intangibles also are called nowadays the goods part, except the name is intangible. And the services linked with consultancy, services linked with labor, like you go to the hairdresser, you go to the restaurants. So those are related as services. Okay, now let me see what we plan to cover today. This focus which I have kept for the next 60 minutes, understanding the concepts of logistics. What exactly is the logistics? Operational part of the logistics, strategic responsibilities, and logistics, since logistics is a part of the supply chain. So since it is a part of the logistics, is a part of that, so I'll try to link up the two around. Now we are talking nowadays more of Industry 4.0, Industry Revolution 4. So that indicates what is the implication of that on this Logistic 4.0. Now there's a subject called IT part. Obviously in today's world, everywhere we have ITs. In the good old days, we have a legacy system. I remember in my timing, in 70s and 80s, we had MRPs. I had a chance to work on those days and that. Later on, we came with the ERP. But now what has come around, ERP has own limitations. So you need warehouse management system. You need transport management systems. Now, traditional versus logistics supply chain control tower. Now, this is another concept which is coming as a part of digitization. That how we can have a control tower where I'm connected to all the players. So all the informations are available at a central place. Then we are going to talk about the technologies part. when we particularly relate to the digital issues, COVID-19's impact on logistics, and the challenges which we have around. Now let's see what is the logistics issues around. So when we say there's, as I said to you in the very beginning, the term logistic has a lot of confusions. Some consider the transport activity, others call it as a supply chain. So now what exactly it is there around, this is where I've tried to ensure. In summary, one could say it's a flow and storage of the goods around. If you look at, there are three components: transportations, distributions, and the last is the import-export. Now, each activity has got two dimensions around: the planning part, execution part. Actually, there's a third dimension also, which we could call as a monitoring part. So transportation, distribution, and the last is this. Now, when we say the logistics stage is around, let's look at the logistics from the very beginning, from the supplier end, from the point of origin to the point of consumption. So there's inbound logistics, the transportation of goods into the purchasing organizations, main warehouses. Then we have internal distribution. So the material has come from the supplier to my warehouse inside. And then from there, I'm shifting it to the production line. So that is what we call the internal distribution. And this is what we could call the work in progress. And now from there, when the goods are made, they are shifted to finished goods. It becomes, again, we call as outbound logistics. So outbound logistics is the distribution flow of goods from the organization to the subsequent customer. So we are trying to integrate all the activities. I know in many companies still it is in silos. Internal logistics, there's a guy, it is done by procurement people. That's a different silos. Work in progress movements, there's a team of production people, they take care of it, whom you call material management people. Then we have people who are dealing with outbound part. Some companies are seen as a part of sales, some places other way around. So this is it. There's a need to integrate all these functions around. So now comes the logistic chain. So that means from the one end, there's the origin, other side is a consumer. The whole path, the path of what? Goods and information. It is not dealing with only the movement of the goods. So it is also dealing with the information which is required from one point to another point. The goods are coming from X supplier. The bill of lading is coming around. That information has to go to the next one. If somebody is making an invoice, then it has to go to the next one. So it has to have not only the goods, it also has to have information. So broadly, it covers the planning part. If you are trying to become a strategy, then you have to plan. Even if you look at the SCORE model of supply chain, the very beginning is planning. Here also, when I talk about logistics, is a planning. When I talk about procurement, also the planning is the first thing. So planning is there. Transportation is there. Transportation could be inbound, within the company, and outside, outbound. Now, in all these movements around, some places have to store also. So then we come to warehousing. Now, warehouses could have different purposes. It could be used for just storing. It could act as a distribution centers. It could act as a store around. So the term, I think one has to understand around when we say warehouse is a very broad terms. I remember the time when people say it's a store. I know many companies still call store. So when I say store, it means within my company is a store. When it's going as a finished good, it becomes a warehouse. And then from warehouse, when I shift it to another place from where I'm distributing to my customer, different regions, different districts, then it becomes a distribution centers. So we'll touch more in detail on that part. In some places, I'm doing packaging. handling also. Material handling is required. Distribution is there. And security parts. So the items are not pilfered. Everything is okay. Even the data is secure. Everything has to be covered. Now, as I said to you, the goods could be tangible or intangible or service. So again, let me clarify. The tangible mean which are basically physical. You can shift them around. Intangible goods are different, which are related to service industry per se, but they're intangible. So those intangible goods, let's say if I am in a banking service, I'm taking care of ATM. So ATM is to me is an intangible goods. Putting the currency notes is intangible goods. Plus, if I get down to the other areas around, let's say my music system is there, software is there. So people are trying to convert that. The old definition of economics is changing now. It's not simple goods and services, goods, intangible goods and services. So intangible goods are the one which are coming from the service industry, but people are not much involved. So services is purely concerned. Where the people are involved, where the labor is involved. So that's the way that we are trying to differentiate around. So very off late, this definition has come up around. And worldwide, the UN is also coming with new definition. So it is the entire path which results in revenue of the company and calls for efficient growth. So if I had to summarize this logistic part, it's a combination of art and science. Why I say art? Because you have to manage the supply chain. You have to manage the people also. So it's the art of managing the supply chain, that component of supply chain which is dealing with movements, and science of managing and controlling the flow of goods. That means you need data, you need data analytics around, then you have to make a decision on based on that. So that is why I'm calling the science part. It's a combination of science and arts. Let's look at this logistic chain. Raw material is coming. Then it is going to the storage. Raw material could be like steel rolls you've seen around, or some casting is coming, or some other goods are coming. They go domestic. Now from there, as the need comes, I move it to the production to make finished goods. Now those finished goods are moving to the warehousing, and from warehousing it's going to the market. So the very first one is you see the physical supply part, and then the next is physical distribution. So in short, it covers both inbound within the company and then outbound logistics. To summarize, if I have to say logistic management is nothing but the practice of organizing the cost-effective flow of raw material in process, inventories, finished goods, and related information. This is very important. It is not simple movement. All the related information from the point of origin. Point of origin could be tier 1, tier 2 supplier. I know it is done by the supplier. So from the origin from where you are starting around to the point of consumption to satisfy customer requirements. So it plays, as you can see, it plays a wonderful role. If you look at the size of industry, worldwide it is around $3 trillion industry. When I look at India, it is around, today it is around close to $200 billion. I know with COVID-19, this has got a big hole now in this industry for the last 2 months. So $200 billion industry is there, and biggest employer. Now scenario, if you look around of India scenario versus the Western countries and China, because this is where we try to compare ourselves. So if I look with the logistic, again our index around, it was 54 in the 2016. 2014 it was 54, then 2016 it became 37. Now it has again gone up. So we have not done well in the logistics side, I would say. The figure wise it is 13%, and now the figure is around 15%. So when we say logistic part, there are 3 components: your warehouse cost, your processing cost, your transportation cost. So you can see in India's on a broad basis, the figure is around 63% of the whole logistic cost relates to transportation. 29% is my warehousing. I have put investment in the warehouse. We have staff working on there. We have inventory piled up there for next 2 months, 3 months. So that what contributes 29%. The process part, it could be 8%. See, if you compare all the ones, the worldwide, if I see the Western world, Europe and Americas particularly, average logistic cost is 8% of the GDP. So that means all trading activity, manufacturing activities, it relates to around 8.5, 8%. India was 13, now it is around 15% this year figure around. And then if I look at the China, it is on the higher side. Some of think, oh, China is doing so great. Oh, the figure is high. If you look at the figure of China's, on transportation, they are better than us. Why they are doing bad is one, the other's part. China has a wonderful infrastructure, no second thought about it. But the number of tolls are the highest in the world. The charges on the tolls are very high. That is why 18% versus our 8%. Then the inventory part also, because they have become the world factory, they're trying to distribute to the whole world. So that is also contributing a big thing around. And another contribution is when it comes to logistics, they are not doing much of outsourcing. The skills are not so good on this field. So the outsourcing is very negligible. Like in India, we're talking about 3PL, Europe is talking, Japan is talking about 3PL. But in in China, still it is done in-house. The company do themselves. That's why you find the logistic cost is high there. But when we say the logistic cost as a percentage of sales, not I'm saying of GDP, cement and all those commodities around, it is on the higher side. Auto industry is well organized, 3%. Apparel, 3%. Durables, FMCG, 4%, 5%. So it varies sector to sector. That's what you have to keep in mind. The distribution wise, as I said to you earlier, the transportation is 40%. Warehousing and the packaging and the losses are 26%. Inventory part is 24%. Other processes or admin process around are 10%. So that shows you which is the area where we need to improve upon. Again, sector to sector, this may vary. This is a very generic figure for all the sectors together. Let's understand the overview of logistic chain in India. Still today, I would say it is a series of discrete siloed stuff. If I'm in procurement, I've got my own logistic activities around. And then if I'm coming from 40 suppliers or 200 suppliers around, each one is different. Sometimes I'm left to the suppliers. There's no consolidation part on that part around. Within the company also, the work in progress, the way it is moving, it is managed by production people or material management people. So when it comes to the external part, outbound logistics, again different. Packaging, it might be different. So you can imagine all the activities are in a silo mentality. We expect that over the next 10 years or 15 years, this is bound to change. The world is moving toward digitizations. So that's where change is happening around. One change I can expect that after this COVID-19, one thing is becoming very clear. The globalization, which we all learned around, is coming with, we have to pay the price like this, what we are suffering today. So globalization has led to, you all read the book of The Word is a Flat. So basically what happened was consolidations, the volume size, all things were getting into one country. Few suppliers. So possibly now people will think about globalization as a great idea, but still we need regionalization and localization. To begin with, it may cost you extra, but if you look at the long term, like today, if you see our country and other countries around, they're suffering a lot. Now, so but the digitization certainly is bound to come around. The ecosystem will depend on several digital technologies. Challenges in logistics, what we have. Here I've tried to give you the figure of 2014 as per the World Bank. We call Logistic Performance Index. And this index is based on 6 parameters. Obviously, one is infrastructures, second is your talent, third is your customs and all those clearance around. So like this, there are 6 parameters on which basis we do this LPI. So when we took in 2014, we were ranked 54. 2016, we were very happy that we have changed from 54 to 35. The ease of doing business, you may call anything around, so it was great improvements. But when it comes to 2018, 35th becomes 44. So there were some variations again, maybe because others have gone much ahead of us, some places. So infrastructure is one. Skill development is very much required. Because I remember I had a chance to work in Philippines as a consultant for some activities around. Even in those countries, as a whole Asia, I would say, they are moving much faster on logistics side, consolidation side, Uberization part, digital part. So that part, I think Asia as a whole is moving very fast. So that means some countries who were behind us, they are gone ahead of us. So information technologies, regulatory hurdles, and the last is performance standards. So we need to come with performance parameters, guidelines, and comparing ourselves with the world best. Another thing comes end-to-end logistics. We are all used to point to point. I've got a supplier X. It has to go to so-and-so place, from supplier to this. So you can imagine around so many pinpoints around from head supplier to the customer. But then the concept came of hub and spike around. So that means hub I've got center, like in a wheel of a bike. Everything is coming to a hub. I've got 40 suppliers, 200 suppliers, sources are 200, all are coming to the hub, and I do the consolidation there. And then I send to each customer. So this is where we can cut down the cost of transportation and make logistics much more cost effective. Now, when we talk of logistic requirements for the goods, so if you look at the broad way, first thing is obviously select the mode of transportation. Should I go by sea? Should I go by air? Should I go by train? Should I go by truck? Which mode of transportation actually? Then the forwarding agents, the packing part, what type of packing I should do it. Obviously, if it is going by air, it's a different type of packing. If it is going by container, different type of packing. If it's going full truckload, is a different type of packing. Partial load, again, different type of packing, containerizations. Packing and shipping instructions. Labeling part, if the items are very fragile, I need a different type of instruction. Then also Incoterms. I know some people have mentioned to me that Incoterms, if it could be covered. I think we have covered this subject separately in one of the previous webinar. I won't be able to spend much time on it. The Incoterms and insurance part has been covered earlier. It's a full-fledged subjects around, so I don't feel to cover today. Shipping documents and receipt of consignments. So these are all broad things of logistics. So as I said to you, Incoterm, insurance, shipping documents, I'm not going to cover because that has been covered in the previous sessions around. Now coming back to the modes of transportations, rail, truck, air, pipeline, and this. If I look from the efficiency angle, on the cost effectiveness wise, cost effective, obviously water is the cheapest one, environmentally much more better, train also is better, truck obviously pollutes much more, costs you on the higher side, air is the most costliest. So it gives you very broad ideas around, if I talk of bulk commodities like coal and this and cement, they're going basically a steel around, they move with train. Although there are limitations, but that is the one is preferred. So for the long distances, for commodities, rail is the best one. Truck is for the smaller area, distances around. And then air is the one when you want something like cold chain items, medical supplies, very high cost item, you want early delivery, air. And pipeline could be again it's low cost, very reliable, and frequent departures. Water. So this gives you the basically the cost efficiency. The cost efficiency, I'm looking at 1 liter of fuel versus number of tons kilometer. So if you look around the road versus rail versus inbound water, if I go with the ton kilometers, per ton kilometers, it is 4 times efficient than road. Rail is around 3 times more efficient than road. But then there are limitations, everything. I mean, one can't say that we can straightway move from road to rail. Yes, there's a scope is big comparing with other countries. They're using more on the roadside than the rail part. But then there are limitations, what type of commodity we are shifting. Now coming back to the preferences part on the transport, everybody wants to save money on the transportation because that is 40 to 50% of the cost of logistics. And you also don't want too many of transshipments. You would like to have a shipment goes from one point to the straight to the final user point. Just like when you and me want to travel anywhere, we want to go straight through it. We don't want to go through so many stops around. So shipping were preferred, again, transshipments areas and customs, very important around. Because with some country, we have preferred relationship. Custom may be less. In some country, we have to pay more. So you also have to look around which are the countries from where the transshipment can happen. Now coming back to the again applying the use of, again a thumb rule I would call around, if the ratio is 1.1 to 4, if the cost of the goods and the cost of the aircraft movement, if the ship by air is only 25% of the cost of the goods, it's reliable. Average is as it is 15-16%. You feel that this has to reach at the earliest, and it is coming at 25%. So the rule of thumb is that you could go with this. Shipping by air, the weight is less than 200 kgs. Particularly if the cold chain is there, yes. And shipping by land or sea is dangerous, then certainly the goods involved around. Selection, again, I think the rule of thumb is the ratio between high value versus the volume ratio. It goes for the air freight. It's a low value items, but the volume is very big, then I go with the sea freight. I'm sending the cotton bundle of cottons around, I'm not going to do it with air. Because all volumes. So if you feel the cost is very high, but the volume is less, yes, then you can do that. Packaging part, in one line, I would say the packaging is basically depending on the type of transportation, the type of material it is there. If it's a fragile items, are going to be affected by the climatic conditions, then certainly you need to make a packaging which takes care of those things around. And you also have to keep in mind the type of container you're selecting. Still, I would say there are many countries, since I have dealt around as the chairman of the UN supply chain, I've dealt with 200 country offices around. So wherever we used to send the goods, some places we had a lot of difficulties. Here, port capacity was very limited. So, and sometimes they cannot even take more than 20 feet containers. So one has to look around when you're dealing with these type of things. Labeling part, certainly there should be a name of the consignee, destination, very important around, where the port of unloading. If it is linked with the project, put down the project number, order number, and case number. Case number is very, very important around. I would say if I were 10 cases and if I had to send back a message to the person, my consign, the person supplier, I have received 9. Which one is missing? I can't tell. But if it is mentioned 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10, 10 of 10, I can tell them, guys, a pack 9 of 10 is missing. Then they know which is missing. So be sure to put down the case number. So then whosoever is doing them, because normally these activities are outsourced. So you should tell them the instruction that you want the case number. So in short, if I have to say, the transportation management covers assessing the transportation mode, understanding the regulation, decisions to have third party or own fleet vehicles. Should I have my own vehicles? Or should I use third parties around? Now this change I find enormously the last 5 years, 6 years in India. Earlier I know people used to have their own transportation wing around, evaluating carrier performance. So this is where, if I go to the transportation part, some people, what they do in the past when they were having their own transportation, they know very well my load is going up and down like this. When it comes winter, the business picks up. So then I will keep the bare minimum where I'll cover with my fleet, and anything more than that, I'll try to use the haulage contractors. So this is where in-house versus outside. This concept, I think, is becoming very popular. Worldwide is very popular, 3PL. I know many autos company in the good old days, then they used to handle themselves. Now they say, my niche area is to make cars. My job is not to take care of transportation and toll problems and accident on the way. The goods have reached or not, is they pass on to third-party logistics. One for north area, one for south, one for west, one for northeast. So I've got different 3PLs who take care of my goods. And assets belong to them. So I don't have to invest on it. So basically, then each one has their own assets. They take care of transportations. And I can focus on more on my areas. If my niche is to have a better production, better product, other to improve the quality part, then I focus on that, but not on the transportation. And on the way, if there's a consolidation required around, then they take care of it. 3PL may have transportation plus warehouse for consolidation part. Disadvantage is that you are cut off from the customer side. So that customer's feedback sometimes it may delay. So that could affect some of the customer knowledge, how they found it. So you will have to do some homework on that. 4PL goes one step further. So when we had 3PL, that means you had a transportation department, you had a logistic team within the organizations. I have 40 3PL companies around dealing with different regions, then I'm trying to coordinate all of them. So this 4PL is basic, but coordinates all of them. So if I have to start comparing the two, 3PL is the one oftentimes owns warehousing, transportation assets, while the 4PL is more on, other one is a non-asset based. They are the one who are taking care of optimizing the supply chain. So they are the one who are coordinating all the 3PLs. So third party, as the name indicates, subcontract, third party. So 4PL goes one step further, which activities you are doing now, this 4PL takes care of. So in short, for all 3PL, there's only one point of context. So if you look at the worldwide scenarios on the 3PL, leaving aside the China part, Japan is around 80% is outsourced and third party. US is around 57%, Europe is 40%, India still is 9%. This is the area which is growing very fast, I can say, in the last 5 years. Because when you're giving the job to the experts, if I'm a car maker, I'm a pharma company, I'm expert on my pharma areas, I'm not a transport expert. So there are companies who are really transport companies, and they take care of it. And this happened in many activities. I remember the time when I was in New York, we had hundreds of IT people. Well, IT was not our business. IT was a tool for it. IT was a support to us. Slowly we started outsourcing that activity and outsourcing to those whose job is IT, and they do much better job. So same concept here for transportation, I would like to advise. Coming back to stores part. We have the flow. Transportation means there's a flow. Now, if I have to have a flow, then certainly I need some time to organize the receipt, issue of material, accept and store until they are needed and can be disposed of. I'm taking all the goods around, then I'm storing somewhere before it goes to the distribution center. So this activity is again, you need stores around. So warehousing, the one stores, warehousing, and this may occur at any several points. So I take the finished goods from the company as a 3PL, I take it to the warehouse, and from there I pass on to various distribution centers, and from there it goes to the customers. So warehouse, if I have to summarize, is typically viewed as a place to store inventory. You've got three types of inventory in every company. One inventory which is incoming from the suppliers, which procurement people are dealing with it. Then you have got something work in progress inventories. There is also your money is blocked there, WIP. Then you have inventory of the finished goods around. So you have inventory at three levels. Now, in many logistical companies, system design, the role of the warehouse is more properly viewed as switching facilities as contrast to storage facilities. Store versus warehouse and distribution center, this is where I will explain. If you ask any company's guys, a store means whatever I have inside my company. Warehouse means where I'm storing my finished goods. Now, technologically, warehouse may not have much. It is only with material handling equipment, cranes, depending on the size of the boxes. But when it goes to the distribution center, from where I'm giving it to the customers around, I have much better sophisticated technologies there around. Or you could say, if I say warehouse is just a supply chain, distribution center is more like a digital supply chain. So it is much more sophisticated. Now, we use it for consolidation also. We use it for big bulk also. Consolidation means I'm getting the goods from various suppliers and they're coming in parts. Then I try to do consolidation, 2 pieces of this, 3 pieces of this, has to go to customer A. I consolidate and send to them. The break bulk is also same way around. I'm getting the material from the supplier X, but then material has to be divided into break the bulk for different customers. Now, when we talk of warehouse management activities around, in short, what you're doing is storage bin management. You're doing the shelf life expiration date around, inventory controls, warehouse movements, warehouse control. So all these activities are part of it. The operating principle, if I go with the warehouses, is the design criteria, how it is designed. Obviously, when we design, our major focus is I'm utilizing the cubage part. Is it 95%? Is it 60%? So how much utilization I have got? How is the flow? Is it a straight line? Or is it a U-type? So that criteria makes a big difference on the cost of operation. What type of handling equipment I have got? Do I have a robotic system? Am I doing physically manually shifting around? Am I using forklift, only pallet trucks? All makes a big difference. I do have a conveyorized systems. The layout and the storage plan, certainly there are many characteristics when you design the layouts. Obviously, the volume of the goods around, the weight of each boxes around, storage, how much movement is there around, all those things. Now, warehouses could be very private, contract, and public. which I have seen in India. Obviously, one warehouse which is within the company, that's okay with the incoming goods, is your own. But outside, when it comes to the finished goods, many people try to use it on a contract. Or sometimes they take it as a private also, they have their own. Or there are public warehouses also. In some cases, even the transport company, the 3PL company, they may have their own. So there are different scopes around. But coming back to warehouse location and acquisition consideration, obviously, very basic thing is that you want to be close to supplier and customers. Particularly the supplier part, yes. Customer, if you're a global company, is a different ballgame. Availability of essential services, capacity of the site, and future expansion. If I want to expand, I should have space. Drainage, security part. So there's no theft, there's no pilferage around. Clear and certain road access part. We don't want the truck is stuck that they are not able to enter inside the campus premises. Taxes. Some state government, they give you taxes. It happened worldwide, many places around. I know Amazon was trying to find some place in the US, second big headquarters. They were looking at Texas, they were looking at other states. Whoever gives more benefits to them, they go for that. Purchase of existing warehouse, self-made, then you make it, you buy the land and you do totally the green project around, rental, outsource the warehouses operation through the 3PL or other way around, build, own, operate, or tax-free zone also. You can go into the tax-free. Sometimes you also have a bonded warehouse, which could be by the government or the state government, so they take care of it and they bond it up. So that means you don't have to pay the taxes till the goods are used. So they are lying there, no custom clearance. The moment you take it, then they get the custom clearance, then you pay for the taxes. So basic information needed to design. So you need the size of the average boxes around, the volume part, the weight of each component, staff, how many you have around, handling capacities, equipment, number of movements. How many boxes are going every day? How many trucks are coming to the companies around? How many trucks are leaving you? So all those things are very important. Keep in mind, when we're talking of a warehouse, it is not simple a building of 4 walls around. I would say it should be preferably certified ISO 9001. You should have mandated procedures, how to pack it, how to handle it, how to store it, how to preserve, and how to deal. You need to have set operating procedures around. Those who are dealing with medical items, they become much more essential. I remember when we talk of medical, whenever we try to approve any supplier, we say, guys, you follow GMP, good manufacturing practices. But when it comes to the warehouse, they get good distribution practice. I had a chance to look at many companies. So we went around, we say, guys, show us the good distribution practice, how you're doing. And if they don't have ISO 9000 or other parameters around, or what are WHO guidelines for good distributions, you will never clear the company. Maintaining ISO 9000 qualities. You need basically the documented procedures, how to handle, how to store, how to pack, and how to preserve. Now, how do we prevent there's no deterioration or no damage to it? Control of packaging, packing, and marking process, how they will be done. Transportation techniques around, inventory, stock management, in-process handling. That's what we do. Coming back to the design part, I know if you are doing something warehouse which is within the heart core of the city, which is a very costly land, you may have to go to multi-layers. But if you're having a place which is outside the city, and you have the luxury of getting the land or getting open space around, so height, I would say the traditional warehouses could be 10 meters. So basically 1 floor. Automated warehouses, I could go up to 18, 32 meters to So I could have multi-layers. Storage, I could have pallet in the lanes. But when you're doing the storage, keep in mind you have to give space between the lanes. And if you're going to pick up by forklift, you have to look around the turning radius. Some people think the forklift width is only 1.3 meter, 1.4 meter. I will just bring it back in the same way, reverse way, and save my space. I think then it takes you more time, and sometimes it can hit one of the shelves. So you need to have proper turning radius. So space should be reasonable for that. Our rack should be movable on the side left and right and increase the space whenever needed. Again, the pallet rack, again racking around, standard boxes. Store space utilization is 50 to 75. When we're doing automated warehouses, naturally the utilization is much, much better. So the layout part, broadly, I would say it's like a straight line. My dock levelers are there on this side, again on the dispatch side and the receipt side. On the receipt side, I'm unpacking it, inspecting it. It goes to the storage location. And if I don't want to store, if I want to just dispatch as it is without storing it, it can go in the straight line. That's what we're calling as the cross-docking. So they come from 10 suppliers. I put them together, then I'm going to shift it to 8 or 9 customers. It goes without keeping in the store. Otherwise, my workload becomes double. First, entry into the store, then take out from the store, then dispatch it. The cycle time becomes bigger. So this concept came from Walmart long back, cross-docking part. The objective of the warehousing, the way we know, servicing of orders in time and full. Minimize the cost. Inventory turnover. The material should not stay in the warehouse for a long. Minimize response time to demand and preserve the quality. So storage wise also, if you feel that there are, if I've got an entrance and exit, next to my entrance should be the fast moving items. Again, then over the shelf, you will see which are heavy items, medium weight items, low value item. Here I'm talking of moving items, which is fast moving, which is medium rate moving. The slow moving item can go in the last shelf. Now, coming back to this interface to other systems, when you're doing the warehouse management, you need to be linked with production, because production is supplying you to the warehouses. So you need to know when is item coming up around. You need to improve the quality part. You need to do the delivery process, and you have inventory process. You see the in is coming, the out is there. In means I'm talking of the warehouse when it comes from the supplier. Then same thing goes to the production. From production, it is going with remote data processing, come for the qualities, and then the delivery. Have a look around the traditional distribution systems where I've got items are coming from frontiers, coming from airports, coming from port, and each one is moving it to different factories. You can see around 3 suppliers, 3 routes, 16 at the end of the day, 18 routes, a minimum of 3 deliveries per delivery factory if I take. But the same thing we have tried to change it. I have my warehouses, I consolidate there, and then from there I shift it to this. So each warehouse is looking after 3 factories. So all put together, there are only 12 routes, 1 delivery per factory. Cross-docking principle, which I told you, the concept came from the famous Walmart in the good old days. Nothing is allowed into the cross-docking center. So you will not allow any incoming material until it has been scheduled for dispatch. If it's coming for storage, it's a different thing. But if it is scheduled for dispatch, then it's great. It goes that. Bulk merchandise. Then floor space is allocated for putting down unit loads from each inbound trucks, composing the pallets. No item is stored for more than 24 hours. Keep that in mind. I mean, the concept was very clear around when the warehouses were there. Let's say, again, Walmart, and they've got I'm feeding around 100 other stores around. Each store has made a request. Now that request has gone to the suppliers. The X supplier might be feeding with 10 stores or 15 stores, but it goes to one distribution center, one big warehouse center. So I will, instead of storing there, we will try to do cross-docking. Now let's understand the two systems, which are very, very important. I would still say in India, not many companies are using these. They have ERPs, many of them. ERP does some function, but does not give you real-time reporting. So I would say only 5 or 10% are using this WMS and TMS. So when we talk about warehouse management system, you want to manage store, order processing, movement of inventories within your warehouse on a real-time basis. What could happen in ERP, it may not give you real-time data. You may have to analyze it on Excel and then do this further. But here you get on the real-time, on your screen, last 1 hour, this is what has moved. Track the progress of every stock items from receiving, picking, packing, and shipping. I can track it. What time it came, when it was picked, when it was packed, and when it was sent. But this type of information is not available in ERP. One can improve upon, I'm not saying that. But then this WMS could be uploaded and linked with ERP. So WMS, when I say the warehouse management system, concentrates solely on warehouse inventory, while ERP is automating across all the departments. So the purpose of ERP is enterprise system. Connects your HR, connects your sales, connects your finance, connects procurement. It connects everybody, but it does not still give you the real-time data. Some ERP system includes WMS, some only cover inventory controls. So I know those who are doing nowadays, they're trying to get WMS software and trying to link with ERP. Same case happened with transport management system also. So when we talk of transport management system, it helps me to high degree of automation that ERP can do. Now I could use EDI, electronic data interchange, or some other technologies. So the TMS does not require any team to enter any other information by hand. So I could automate the data informations. So ERP system provides a great level of visibility. There's no second thought about it, but does not offer a detailed information concerning the transportation chain. If I have kept up some metrics, my fuel consumption should be so much. My number of shipments is how many, transit time, how much it is there. If that type of data I want to keep, the last time my material went from Delhi to Mumbai, it took so many hours. Second shipment took so much time. Instead of pulling from ERP, then analyzing it, here I get the graph immediately and say, guys, show me this. And tomorrow, if we want to go into Uberization of trucks as a service, same like we have for the cars now, Uber. So my truck is going from here to Patna, on the way it is coming empty, or is going with a partial load. Then I have got my system and they say, guys, okay, we can pick up the material from Lucknow, we can pick the material from this. So I can make it full and useful of the truck. Same way when it is coming, it is not coming empty. So that whole concept is picking up, I will say, very, very nascent stage in India. But abroad, it is picking up in a big way. To make optimum use of the trucks, it costs you money. Average life is what, 6 years, 7 years, and good conditions around. So people want to make the best optimum use of it and have a better return on investment. Look at this logistic chain. So we have ERP connecting everything from A to Z. So what we're doing is goods received from the supplier, goes to the warehouse, which you may call store in your traditional language, transports, work in progress, Production, again work in progress. Then I got again the finished good has come out. I transport it to the warehouse, shipping, goods out. The whole chain is there. Initial activities I'm doing with the warehouse management system. The transport part you could add TMS, and then manufacturing also is I could have separate. All could be linked up with ERP. So this is where, if you want to really do the automation, digitization, that's where you can do. Next comes, obviously, when we talk of logistic chain, is a part of supply chain. Now, if we want to make a resilient one, now this term is becoming very popular nowadays after the COVID-19. Are we resilient? As a manufacturer, as a chain, are we resilient? Is my chain resilient? Can it withstand the shocks? The type of shock we are going through today, worldwide, so are we able to withstand it? So this is what is leading. So ongoing COVID pandemic is leading to collapse of logistic and supply chain system. If I have to say today, we are only using what, 20% of this, maybe less actually. So the whole thing is coming to a standstill. So World Economic Forum has suggested the answer to preventing this type of thing. Again, their objective is that tomorrow if we become very, what it's called online digital system, today everything requires hard copies. So if you are going to work from home, I know today I had to send some documents to the bank. They wanted a hard copy, they wanted this. That means our approach also has to change. If you're going to do more and more work from home, then you should have all the freedom to do digital technology. Now the question comes, the more we move into digital, so people have got worries that my information could be leaked out. It could be misused by someone. So this is where the World Economic Forum is saying, guys, in case anything happens, COVID-19 is one example, but if anything happens which creates a shock for you and you are in a digital world, you need a visibility, and data privacy. All paper-based process has to be changed over the time. Bill of lading, why do I need hard copies around? When my purchase orders could become electronic, the bill of lading also could become. So most of the documentations could become electronic. I remember the days when we used to ask for the payment from the companies. I'm just talking 3 years back. Now things have started changing. You could have e-invoicing. Otherwise, in the past, you will send one copy of invoice is lost, again send another copy, then they say send us through courier, delay after delay. So we need visibility and we need data privacy. To cover this, this is where again, something which is core to my heart is the blockchain can help us. Because blockchain is a more democratic system. It gives you much more data privacy. That's the way. Nobody can tamper with it. Now coming back to the next subject on Industry 4.0. It's a very hot topic nowadays, worldwide. For the last 2 sessions, if I take about World Economic Forum, some people may think, why should we worry about it? But we are forgetting that we are part of the world. If my competitors are using something better technologies, I cannot become competent to beat with the company. So I have to follow it. So Industry 3.0, I remember when it came in 1969, the computerization came around. I had a chance to implement CNC machine in those days. Accuracy was so perfect. So I happened to buy many of the CNC in those days, 69, two for the 2 rooms in Vajipur. And 1 or 2 I did buy for the other companies around. So that CNC machine, I could automate many of the productions. So we had those things for automating things around, more better accuracies. I could reproduce, I remember those times, I'm talking of not very far, in 1980, 84. You give me a sample, I could scan it, I could do the CAD design, and based on the CAD design, I could feed to my CNC machine, produce it. Now we're talking of Industrial Revolution 4. Here we are able to link the human being with things also, machine to machine also. So the new technologies have come up around advanced robotics, 3D printers. I remember one company who was having a spare parts problems, again with the airline company. Instead of waiting and getting from all the way and for another month, losing funds, they did the 3D printing. HP is doing for many of the medical supplies now 3D printing. We hear a lot about masks, we talk about PPE, we talk about many things. So they are also trying some of the items with 3D printing. So Internet of Things around IoT, very, very important. Billions of items which are connected to clouds. Information passes on where the person is, where the goods are, where the machine is, every information is there. Artificial intelligence, big data. So now this is what technology has come up around. So here we have the 9 pillars of the Industry 4.0. Obviously the robots are there, robotic is one, system integrations, IoT, simulation, additive manufacturing, cloud computing. Now we are going to use some of them when it comes to logistics. So the logistics which are very popular is IoT, automations, technologies. Particularly when I'm working in an e-commerce business around, I've got my items lying in the racks around, and my conveyor belt is moving as scheduled. This week, these items will go. Items could be moved to the opposite. Then I've got a blockchain technologies, cloud computing, big data. So big data analytics is becoming the most popular thing. That means it makes you much better intelligent. Instead of working on your hunch feeling, oh, this is right or that is right, the big data you have. I remember the timing when we implemented ERP, I was leading it in 2005, 2006, and we did it for the whole world, 200 country offices. We spent $70 million. But what do we receive? The procurement, just all POs were going great. But the data which was gathering in the ERP, nobody made use of it. Now we are trying to learn around, guys, it is not just to connect with finance or to control through the finance. It is basically to make use of which country is buying from where, what price they are paying around, how can we do the volume leverage around. So those things are coming in. So logistics, again, 4.0, keeping in mind the same thing. The technology which are happening around digital supply chain. So if I take of logistics alone, GPS tracking, radio frequency identification, the barcode, yes, in the good old days, was a great thing. If I go 15, 20 years back, yes. I had a chance to again work with in Europe also on European article numbering. So that again became part of my barcodes. But today when we have radio frequencies, which is economical now, it's not that economical, but the price have gone down a lot. And many companies in India have also started providing RFID. And these could be active. That means if all my goods in a warehouse are having with RFID, if I want to check how many pieces are there and I've got a drone on the top of it, it can easily pick up all the information very quickly. Even if items have been misplaced from one rack to another rack, it can pull up. It makes you very, very effective. Actually, one company did it, used to take them millions of items, and it used to take them in the store from one end to another end to do the whole auditing, the accounting part, inventory counting, a month, and then auditing used to take a long time. But now with this drone and the RFID, they could do in 24 hours. So there are beautiful things to save money here. Then we have again dynamic inventory management, capacity and load matching, wireless updates, and track and trace. This is a new thing which is coming around the whole way. Wherever you think of supply chain, logistics, control tower, control tower, control. All my transport company, if I've got 500, my fleet has got 500 trucks, all are connected with this. I've got 40, 50 warehouses, I've got 10, 20 distribution centers, all are connected. Shipping part, which is coming inside, is connected there. Docks are there. So basically, the information is not moving in a straight line. The information which used to move in a straight line is gone. It's all connected. All information is in one place. So sitting at the control tower, I will know this item will come from so and so supplier. And these are stuck at docks, so many. And these are trucks which are moving around, and these trucks are coming empty. Or these trucks are going full, or these trucks are partial load. I have complete information. I can take proper decisions now. This is another chain which I showed around was if item has to go from one end to another end. I will take again example of iPhone. I know I do touch it in all my workshops around. When we talk of one iPhone, how many suppliers? 240 suppliers. How many countries? 44 countries, 6 continents. You can imagine around tracking, tracing, how many documentation is produced, how many orders, how many shipping documents, how many country of origins, how many information, custom clearance. So if you have this through the blockchain, it is much more clearer. The truth is also there around much. Some of the items concept we can do with the smart contracts. So this is where I just want to touch it. Coming back to the growth part. Transportation sector employs 22 million people, honestly. To me, it's also eye-opening. 22 million people in India. And the growth has been, in terms of numbers, 7.8%. But if I talk about the worth part, has been growing at 10%. Very high percentage. 220 billions. It's a big number. And now with COVID-19, you can imagine we got a big hole on this. The number is expected to increase about 25 million by 2022. They will need so many more people in the next 10 years. The type of people we'll need will not be just the loader. We will need people who are technically smart, who can cope up with digital technology. If I have got a truck in front of me and I got my boxes lying with me, I won't be doing experiment. I will straight away get the map. If this box has to go here, this box has to go here, this box has to go to get the optimum use of the truck. My loading time could be cut down. So we need people knowledgeable on these type of things. If I go back even a few years back in India, any smart engineers will not love to go into transportation. You say, guys, this is not, I'm not about truck ones. But today, I know it is 90% still under the unorganized sectors, but many top companies are coming up into this. So they need smarter people also in this field. Looking at the COVID-19s, as a population of whatever 130 crore people sitting at home nowadays to fight this virus, the landscape of the logistics sector is in disarray because of disruption. Disruptions could be from one state to another state. Disarray could be manufacturing is not working around. If manufacturing is not working around, what the transportation will do, because both go together. It is only being used for essential items around. I would say utilization is nearly 20%, maybe even lower than that. But the moment the lockdown is lifted, is going to face the shortage of workers. Now that is going to be the major issues around. Okay, tomorrow the lockdown is gone, let's say, then how do we put it back to the normal life? And this is the sector which is mostly unorganized. Not only India, even abroad also. The only thing, the definition changed. I remember when I left US, it used to be unorganized, 90% US also. Unorganized means less than 20 trucks. Here we say less than 5 trucks. That's the only difference. The percentage is same. The logistics segment is considered to be the lifeline of the country, holds critical importance, because this is the one which connects everything, the market, suppliers and customer, which are dotted across the whole country. So I think, I'm sure once the the lockdown is over, these people will need a proper care to stand on its own feet. The digital journey, there's no way out. I think in spite of all the problem, the government is very much pushing in digital programs. And sitting at home, you become more digital, I feel. Every day we try to buy everything on digital basis. So the world is moving into the digital part for many businesses, particularly when I talk of SMEs. The question comes, should I invest in digital transformation? Because some people feel putting into investment in technology is a sinkhole. For some, it's a ladder. I can grow up and get a bigger business. I also agree with you that many people I've seen they spend the money on technologies and they didn't get the return what they wanted. This is where due care is required around. The process needs to be changed. The people need to be trained before you jump into technology. So in short, I would say it's going to become the game changer tools. Well, friends, with this, I want to thank you all. Take care. Have a nice day.